My name is Claire Whitmore. I'm 34 years old, and for most of my adult life, I believed I was good at relationships. Not the dramatic kind, not the kind built on explosive fights, passionate reunions, and chaos disguised as chemistry. I never wanted that. I believed in the quiet kind, the kind that settles in slowly, that grows roots instead of sparks, the kind that becomes routine and feels safe enough that you stop checking for cracks, the kind where love isn't loud, but steady, predictable, comfortable. The kind you stop questioning because nothing feels urgent enough to examine too closely. That's what I thought I had with Ethan. We'd been together for 3 years, living together for the last year and a half, not married, not engaged, but far enough along that people had started asking questions about timelines, rings, houses, kids. We didn't shut those conversations down, we just smiled and said, eventually. Our life looked exactly like it was supposed to. A clean, neutral apartment with matching furniture we'd picked together, shared grocery lists, shared streaming accounts, shared routines that ran so smoothly they felt automatic. Mornings followed patterns, evenings blended together. There was comfort in that. I mistook it for security. Ethan worked in marketing, conferences, client meetings, networking events, the occasional trip out of town. It was normal, expected, even. He'd traveled before and always came back tired, overstimulated, full of half-remembered stories about panels, cocktail hours, and awkward small talk with industry people whose names he forgot halfway through telling the story. So when he told me about another upcoming conference, 3 days, Thursday through Saturday, I didn't question it at first. But something about this one felt off. He was too cheerful when he mentioned it, not excited exactly, polished, like he'd practiced sounding excited. His smile lingered a fraction of a second too long, and his tone felt carefully calibrated, as if enthusiasm was part of a performance. Then he packed. More than usual, nicer clothes, button-down shirts I'd only ever seen him wear to weddings and formal dinners, shoes he usually reserved for special occasions. The night before he left, he spent nearly an hour in the bathroom grooming, trimming his beard with precision, fixing his hair, even filing his nails. I joked about it, leaning against the doorframe. Trying to impress someone? He laughed easily, too easily. Potential clients, he said, you know how it is. It sounded reasonable, logical, normal. I told myself it made sense. I needed it to. Wednesday night, the night before he left, we ordered Thai food and put on a movie neither of us actually watched. The TV played quietly in the background while Ethan checked his phone, not constantly, just often enough to notice. Every time I glanced over, he tilted the screen away slightly, subtle, practiced. Not obvious enough to accuse, but obvious enough to plant something heavy in my chest. Thursday morning, I drove him to the airport. We talked about nothing, traffic, weather, the inconvenience of early flights. At departures, he kissed me goodbye and wrapped his arms around me like nothing was wrong, like this was just another routine goodbye. I'll call when I land, he said. I love you. I love you, too, I replied. Because at that moment, I still believed it. I watched him disappear into the terminal, swallowed by crowds and fluorescent lights. Then I just sat there, hands gripping the steering wheel, engine still running, that familiar, unwelcome voice in my gut screaming that something wasn't right. I didn't have proof, I didn't even have a clear reason, just instinct. And I'd ignored that instinct before, more than once in my life. Then it hit me. His laptop. Ethan always brought his laptop on work trips, always. It was practically an extension of him, emails, presentations, client files, and yet something told me it was still at home. I drove back to the apartment. Sure enough, it was sitting on his desk, closed, not hidden, almost carelessly left behind, like he hadn't even considered it might matter. I stood there staring at it for 5 full minutes. Opening it felt like crossing a line, a point of no return. Once I did, there would be no pretending I didn't know what I knew. But so did spending the next 3 days pretending my chest wasn't tight with dread. So I opened it. His email was already logged in. I didn't snoop through folders randomly. I went straight to the sent folder. At first, everything looked normal. conference registration confirmations, client emails, routine work correspondence. My pulse slowed, just slightly. Then I saw one from 2 weeks ago. Subject line, "Can't wait." My stomach dropped. I opened it. And everything inside me collapsed. It wasn't about work. It wasn't professional. It was personal, intimate, familiar. It was to her. A woman whose name I recognized immediately, not as a colleague, but as his ex-girlfriend. There were hotel details, room numbers, jokes about finally having uninterrupted time together, plans disguised as logistics, desire hidden behind casual language. And then the line that made my hands go numb. "He'll never know. I'll handle everything." There was no misunderstanding, no context that softened it, no plausible explanation waiting to save me. Just 4 months of lies hiding in plain sight. And in that moment, the version of my life I thought I was living ended quietly, right there in our apartment, with his laptop open in front of me. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Something colder settled in instead. And for the first time, I didn't want answers. I wanted control. I sat there for a long time after that, staring at the screen until the words blurred. The apartment felt unfamiliar, like I was trespassing in my own life. Ethan's mug was still in the sink. His jacket hung over the chair, physical evidence of a relationship that minutes ago I thought was solid, now exposed as a carefully managed illusion. Anger came in waves, hot, sharp, almost physical. My hands shook so badly I had to lace my fingers together just to keep them still. But underneath the anger was something else. Something colder. Clarity. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was planning, coordination, calculation. I scrolled back 4 months. That's how long it went on. At first, the emails were cautious, professional. She was a former client, now working with one of Ethan's company's partner vendors. Their tone shifted gradually, so slowly it felt almost intentional. Compliments turned personal, jokes turned suggestive, suggestions turned promises. They talked about timing, about opportunity, about how easy it was to lie to the people who trusted them. I screenshotted everything, every message, every date, every detail about the hotel. I sent the screenshots to my own email, then deleted the sent messages from his account. If Ethan thought he was clever, I wasn't going to give him a warning. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I looked her up. Her name led me straight to her social media, public profile, carefully curated happiness, smiling photos, inspirational captions about growth and honesty. And then I saw him. Her husband. Mid-40s, corporate-looking, photos with their kids, family vacations, anniversary posts. A man who looked like he believed in his life the same way I had believed in mine. I felt sick. Because now this wasn't just about me. Ethan hadn't just betrayed me, he'd inserted me into a larger lie that was already destroying someone else's family. And suddenly, confronting him privately felt insufficient. Almost indulgent. I called my best friend, Lena, and told her everything. She didn't interrupt. She just listened until my voice cracked. "What are you going to do?" she asked quietly. "I don't know yet," I said, and realized that wasn't true. "But I'm not letting him come home and pretend none of this happened." "You could call him now." "No." I stared at Ethan's email inbox, the evidence glowing back at me. "If I do that, he controls the damage," I said. "He lies, he spins it, he minimizes." "So what then?" I took a breath. "Then I wait." That afternoon, I researched. The hotel was easy to confirm. He'd mentioned it casually in one of his messages, like he didn't even need to hide it. I found her husband's full name, his work email, even his phone number. All public, all traceable. By Thursday evening, the plan wasn't forming anymore. It was set. The small emotional absences had been there for months, tiny gaps in conversations, delayed replies, a warmth that felt slightly rehearsed. I'd explained them away because it was easier than questioning them, easier than admitting that something fundamental might already be breaking beneath my feet. I told myself I was tired, that we were both busy, that long-term relationships naturally softened at the edges. I believed it because I wanted to. At 6:15 p. I grabbed my keys. The act felt ordinary, muscle memory, but my chest was tight, my hands unsteady. The drive to the airport passed in a blur of headlights and shallow breathing. Every red light felt personal. Every mile closer felt heavier. The terminal was colder than usual when I stepped inside. Brighter, louder. Every sound echoed, heels on tile, suitcase wheels rattling, overhead announcements bleeding into one another. It felt like the world had turned its volume up because I was walking into a moment that would split my life cleanly in two, before, and whatever came after. He was already there. Standing near the arrivals board, shoulders rigid, jaw clenched like he'd been holding himself together by force alone. His eyes scanned the crowd constantly, not hopeful, nervous. We'd exchanged photos so we'd recognize each other, but I would have known him anyway. There's a certain look people get when their future has already cracked, even if it hasn't shattered yet. He nodded when he saw me. "Thank you for doing this," he said quietly, as if raising his voice might collapse whatever composure he had left. "Thank you for coming," I replied. We didn't shake hands, didn't smile. We didn't need introductions or small talk. We were two strangers bound by the same betrayal, standing shoulder to shoulder, waiting for consequences to finally catch up to people who thought secrecy made them untouchable. The board flipped. Landed, 6:58 p.m. We repositioned ourselves closer to the exit, not too close, not obvious, close enough that they would have to walk past us, far enough that we could see them first. It felt strategic, controlled, which was the only reason I wasn't falling apart. Passengers began filtering out. Families reunited loudly, children ran toward open arms, couples leaned into one another, exhausted but familiar. Business travelers dragged suitcases behind them, already mentally elsewhere. I watched every face. And then I saw him. Ethan walked out beside her, her hand resting comfortably on his arm, not tentative, not secretive, possessive. He was laughing, head tilted back slightly, shoulders loose, the kind of ease that only comes when someone thinks they've gotten away with something. They looked happy. That was the moment something inside me went completely still. Not rage, not tears, stillness, cold and absolute. Ethan saw me first. Confusion flickered across his face, followed immediately by disbelief, then recognition, and then panic, sharp, total, unmistakable. His smile didn't fade. It collapsed. He stopped walking so suddenly she nearly ran into him. Then he saw who was standing beside me, and whatever color remained drained from his face entirely. His ex-girlfriend followed his gaze. Her breath caught. Her suitcase slipped from her hand and tipped over onto its side with a hollow thud that sounded far too loud. Her husband stepped forward. "Hi," he said calmly, too calmly. Surprise. Everything after that happened quickly, but the details burned themselves into me anyway. Ethan dropped his bag. It hit the floor. "Forgotten." "Claire," he said, like saying my name might reset the moment. "What are you doing here?" "Picking you up from your conference," I replied evenly. "I thought I'd surprise you." People were already staring. Airports always collect an audience when reality cracks open. "We should talk somewhere private," he said, his voice trembling now. "Why?" I asked. "You didn't seem too concerned about privacy when you were planning this trip." He blinked rapidly. "I don't know what you're talking about." I tilted my head. 4 months of emails, hotel reservations, room numbers, or did you forget you left your laptop at home? Silence fell hard and heavy. His ex-girlfriend started crying, quiet at first, then openly. Her husband didn't look at her. "I already know everything," he said. "She admitted it this morning, after I showed her the screenshots. I've filed for divorce." That was when Ethan broke. "Please," he said, turning to me, "we can explain. We can fix this." "No," I said, "you can't." Security was already moving toward us, but it didn't matter. The truth had landed, and there was no gate out of what came next. The moment stretched longer than it should have. Airports have a way of doing that, turning private implosions into public exhibits. Ethan reached for my arm. I stepped back. "Claire, please," he said, voice cracking. "This isn't what it looks like." I almost laughed. "Then what does it look like?" I asked softly, because from where I'm standing, it looks like you planned a romantic weekend with your ex, lied to me for 4 months, and thought you'd come home to a woman who still trusted you. His mouth opened, closed. Nothing came out. His ex-girlfriend turned to her husband, mascara streaked, shaking. I was going to tell you, she sobbed. You packed lingerie, he said quietly. You knew exactly how. Ethan tried one last time to regain control. Everyone just needs to calm down, he said, like he was moderating a meeting instead of standing in the wreckage of his lies. Something snapped. Don't, I said sharply. Don't minimize this. Don't rewrite it. I pulled out my phone. Want me to read your messages out loud? I asked. The ones where you joked about how easy it was to lie to me. His eyes widened. Please, he whispered. You're embarrassing me. You embarrassed yourself, I said. I just showed up. Security intervened. We were asked to move outside. We're done anyway, I said. I turned to Ethan one last time. Your things will be packed. You have until Wednesday. Where am I supposed to go? He asked, panicked. I glanced at her. You're good at planning, I said. I'm sure you'll manage. I didn't look back.